Carson, with a night to reflect on it, how do you look back at sort of the emotions of last night and the job you guys did in coming from behind?
Yeah, obviously proud of our group. Just an exciting game. Atmosphere is unbelievable. Hopefully we can just kind of build off that, keep it going into game two.
Yeah, what are the keys to building off some of the positives while learning from some of the things that went against you?
I think a better start is a big one. But obviously just a resilient group again. Hopefully another key, stay out of the box. I think it was good after that one penalty. Play them hard, play them physical. Capitalize on our chances. Like I said, big start for us next game.
You and Mizey got to start the game against the McDavid line, and overall you guys held him to without a shot for the first time in his playoff career. Just what did you guys do well against him in your mind?
I think our forwards all night just did a good job of kind of being in front of them while they're trying to wind up their speed. They do such a good job finding those open opportunities, open ice of winding up speed. That makes it hard on us, like just to keep a gap. So I think it starts with our forwards just kind of getting in their way, just kind of limit that one extra second of that extra speed they had. And then in the D zone, I think we did a good job of closing when we could, give them their space, just kind of limit that extra breakdown. We did a good job last night.
It's your third comeback, multi-goal comeback in the third period, and what's been pretty evident in all of them is that you guys haven't gotten desperate in the process to come back. You haven't really cheated to come back. Where does that come from, and how big of a factor is Rick in all of that?
Yeah, I think just the calmness in the group, in the coaching staff. We all kind of said, I think even last night we thought we were playing better than the score was, even when they went down 4-1. Obviously, that's not an ideal position, but we thought we were playing a pretty solid game. There was still lots of time left, so we just wanted to chip away. And I think that one goal just before the end of the second, that's just such a huge momentum build-off going into intermission. We're saying there's lots of time to get one, get two. We thought maybe we'd have to pull the goalie and get one, but with the momentum in the crowd, you can kind of see that momentum in the playoffs is huge.
Carson, you talked about the emotion in the building. It's just jumping in here. It's always amazing to me how 5 minutes after going through something emotional like that you guys are, your hearts are barely beating afterwards. How hard is that to shut that off one way or the other after a really tough loss or a really exciting win? How hard is that?
Yeah, I mean, the adrenaline was going for hours after the game last night. That was probably the loudest building I've ever been a part of after that fourth and fifth goal. Even on the bench, you couldn't hear a thing. Next whistle, couldn't hear a thing still. And I think we just did a good job of harnessing that, I guess, of just enjoying it. I mean, the crowd being down 4-1, they didn't give up. We didn't give up. It was awesome.
But is it like hard to fall asleep after a night like that?
For sure, yeah. It's nice to have the day today to kind of come in, get treatment, just kind of refresh a little bit because, yeah, it's kind of tough to fall asleep for a couple hours. The adrenaline was going. I think even my wife said she had a hard time falling asleep last night. We got home, just the adrenaline from the crowd. Everyone was still a little fired up. Even the streets, most places around Vancouver were still going late.
Carson, so you look at the way that game went last night. Archer gives up 4 goals. What's the conversation, let's say, in that second intermission with him? Do you guys say anything, or is it one of those you just let him do his thing? And then what was it like to see him come back in the third and be so consistent that it helped buoy the sort of progress you had to win the game?
Yeah, I don't think from players would say much to goalies. They have a good evaluation of their own game. I mean, we still have confidence no matter what in whoever we have back there. So, and at that point, I think it's on us that we're going to have to press and play some goals. He's going to make the saves. And he did a good job, obviously, with those last couple minutes, especially when they're kind of throwing everything at the net. It kind of seems in playoffs when there's a 1 or 2 goal lead, there's always going to be mad scrambles around the net late in the game. He did a good job, and forwards did a good job blocking shots.
Carson, half the team hadn't played real playoffs until this playoffs. It's only been 7 games, but how much more belief is there in the team now than there was, say, 2 weeks ago?
It's hard to say. I think we had a lot of belief going into these playoffs. It helps getting this experience, and I think it helps just kind of some of the games we've played coming from behind, holding leads. We've kind of experienced a lot of different ways to win, and I think that's huge early in these playoffs for us.
And Elias Lindholm had kind of a difficult transition and, of course, had an injury late in the year. Now that we see him in the playoffs, what does he add to your group in terms of his two-way game?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, maybe he wasn't producing the points he could at the start, but as soon as he came in, like I said, face-offs and just how solid he is defensively, that's something that I think when you're on the ice with them, especially myself, maybe I'm out in the D zone too much, but having him out there, close plays, break pucks out, I notice that instantly.
Just on the idea of a comeback so early in a series against a team that can score some goals, what does that maybe do for you guys? You might find yourselves down again. And when you're in that moment, what does having done this already do for your sort of frame of mind when you're there again?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just showed last night. Maybe that's from the Nashville game that we just didn't give up. We just kept believing. Like I said, that period, that the goal in the second period was big for us. I think if you came into our locker room after the second period, you'd have found a pretty calm group of knowing that we don't have to just go try and create odd man rushes right away, that we can stay patient, we can trust our system, trust the players that we have to make good plays, and that we'll get our looks. It was just kind of a whether we'd capitalize it or not.
What would you say was your approach to the physical element of the game last night? And physically, was it what you guys were expecting in the series?
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to be obviously the more aggressive team, just kind of with the skill and the speed that they have over there. That's obviously a big part of it. But at the same time, you really have to pick your spots against this team. If you're going out looking for big hits, or you're going out trying to finish guys, that can expose you pretty quick. They obviously have the speed to kind of slip that or kind of create odd man rushes. So there's definitely a fine line against this group of being that physical aggressor.
Carson, you guys allowed 8 shots over the final 40 minutes of this game. Just curious, what was working so well for you guys? Was just blocking shooting lanes, not letting them set up? What do you think worked so well in the final 40?
Yeah, I think probably honestly mostly game script. Like I said, they're trying to hold a lead. They're not forcing as much. That kind of plays into a little bit. I think we started to communicate a little more on the breakouts, so we weren't spending as much time in our D zone. But like I said, it's different being on the other side when you have that 2-goal lead. They're kind of trying to hold it where we're pressing. So obviously there's just not as many shot attempts.
And like you said, you guys were calm after the second intermission. What are you guys falling back on to remain calm at this point? Is it a coaching staff? Is it a player in the room? Is it the structure? What is it with you guys that helps you stay calm in those moments?
Yeah, I think a little bit of everything, but I also think a little bit of just the past experience. Like I was saying, we've had these comeback wins in the regular season and also in the playoffs already. So, I mean, we've kind of seen it as before. It's kind of playoffs. You know, anything can happen. There's goals a minute apart, 30 seconds apart. So we've just kind of seen early on in these playoffs, not just our team, but that not really a lead is safe. So you just kind of stick with it right to the end.
We'll have Gemma and Patrick.
Carson, you talked about the atmosphere in the building last night. You're a guy who grew up watching the Oilers. What's it like to be playing them?
Yeah, it's a little extra motivation, I guess. I don't know. It's fun because I think it was Jersey Day, like at the school I grew up in. They got a Oilers flag hanging outside, but they also got a Canucks fan, and they did like a pick'em and everything. So, yeah, I should bring up the picture. They had a big Oilers section, Vancouver section. A little more Oilers jerseys than I would have liked to see, but I understand that that's hard for lifetime Oilers fans to give up to root for the Canucks this postseason. But I'll be taking notes on who's wearing the Vancouver jerseys. Obviously, I got a lot of relatives back home repping the Canucks jerseys yesterday, so it's good to see. But yeah, a little maybe extra motivation, but it's also, I understand that there's a lot of, the Oilers mean a lot to that part of Alberta, so I can definitely see why there's still lots of Edmonton jerseys.
Carson, you played against Nikita for a long time. What have you come to appreciate most about what he brings now that he's your teammate?
I guess just how he's elevated. I think this is some of the best. I obviously didn't watch him too closely besides playing him. But for me, I think personally, this is probably the best hockey I've seen him play. Just kind of, I think his game suits playoffs really well because he can bring that physical edge. But like you've seen last year, you've had 15, 16 goals. There is that offensive upside to him, and I think he's found a good mix of being physical, jumping into play. I think he's done a really good job.
And just the last 2 goals, you mentioned the noise, but the actual sequence involved you guys doing some really aggressive stuff through the neutral zone. What was the key to those goals unfolding, you think?
I think, like you said, over the last bit of the game, our breakouts as a whole were better. Even that stretch pass, I think our forwards were doing a good job getting open, and then bringing guys in on that last one, Dakota, and then Gar just moving his feet. I mean, that was a big one. And then on the one before, on Z's goal, great chip out. Teddy using speed that we talked about. We want to drive him low. But if like you can't get that around the net or low, they did a good job pulling up. Z coming in late with great timing, and then just a bomb of a shot from the big man.
Thanks for liking the video and subscribing.